Hi there, YouTube audience, and welcome to another episode on the Spin Nerd channel. Today we will focus on some great albums from the 60s. We will put together for you a list of 10 album tips from the 1960s. And for a change, I will not present this list on my own. I have a guest on the show today. This is the first duo session on the channel. I hope you'll enjoy it. So yeah, guys, we're having Nick Janis on the show this week. Hello, Nick. How are you? Everything all right on this beautiful Sunday?
Yeah. I'm really fine. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great as well. To introduce you to the audience, Nick is a music nerd as well. I don't know if he's as much as a new music nerd as I am, but yeah, we'll hear that in a minute. So we're going to present 10 of our favorite 60s albums. Just 10 randomly picks of very good albums in our opinion. Just give you a short introduction to the albums and some of our favorite songs and why we think the album is so good. So yeah, Nick, I'll let you go first as you are my guest. So go ahead. Let's talk some albums.
Thank you. All right. My first one on the list is the self-titled album by Moby Grape.
Right.
It's from 1967, their debut album as well. They were a rock band from throughout the 60s. Short-lived, but had a few successes. They are a mix of psychedelic rock and some early rock.
Right.
Early rock. By early rock, I mean like Please Please Me from the Beatles, that kind of rock, early 60s.
Okay.
It's a great album, full of diverse rock songs. And the songs remind me of, this is quite extraordinary, they remind me of both early and late Beatles albums in a sense. So like I said, you can hear definite influences of albums like Please Please Me or with the Beatles, that kind of era. But also a very strong but subtle influence or sort of influence that you hear or might hear on Sgt. Pepper.
Okay.
Even though that album was recorded after this one, which is really weird. So maybe this one inspired.
But it's kind of an early 60s album, isn't it? It's like pre-65, something like that. Yeah.
That's the basis. That's the basis of the album, but it's definitely not the only sound you'll hear. It has a lot of some tracks that are more psychedelic than the others. Some are just plain rock and roll songs that are great to hear.
Yeah.
But it's a great mix. It's a great mix.
Right. I don't know the band actually that well, Moby Grape, and I've heard the album actually just once, as you recommended this album to me. But I should definitely listen to it again because I really can't remember how it flows, what kind of songs are on it. So we'll do that definitely, yeah.
Small but fun fact as well. You can see on the album cover here, this guy is holding his hand in a really weird way. And that's because it was airbrushed or photoshopped at the time because he was holding his middle finger out. And they didn't like that much.
That's kind of lame. I can imagine it really.
So you can see a really weird hand right now.
Yeah, I can
on
imagine
that album,
it.
But it does look natural.
Very natural. Yeah, of course, yeah.
I have a Spotify list prepared for each and every one of my albums that I pick, and the playlist contains one song of every album. Okay. And the song that I would recommend to start off for this album is 805.
805, okay. Definitely remember that. Yeah. I will check that out.
You can find a link in the description below.
Okay, great, thanks. I guess I go ahead with my first album in the list. So my first album is probably my favorite soul album from the 1960s. It's an album from 1965. Terrific soul album. It's by Otis Redding, Otis Blue.
Great album.
It's a great compilation of the one great soul tune after the other. It's Otis Redding. What more can I say about it? It's the guy's voice. It's really touching. It goes very deep. It's it's one of the number one soul voices of all time. Great classics on this album. We've got Old Man Trouble, and of course the original version of Respect, the song that was covered by Aretha Franklin later on in the second half of the 60s.
A lot of people know that.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, it's actually one of those songs that were covered, and actually where the cover is better than the original.
Definitely.
A change is gonna come. A cover of one of the greatest songs by Sam Cooke, "My Girl," cover of the Temptations song "My Girl." And this one on this album, the cover on this album is for me it's better than the original by the Temptations. I love it a lot. It's like it has more kind of schwung to it in a way, and it sounds a little bit more mature than the Temptations version. And then of course the Satisfaction cover, the cover of Satisfaction, the Stones classic. Which can't top the Stones version in my opinion, of course, but you can actually compare the two genres. He tried actually to put the Stones classic in a soul kind of jacket, and I think he did a really good job on that. I like it. It's one of my favorite mid-60s albums.
I completely forgot the song was on that album.
It is.
It's been a while since I listened. I was actually in doubt because I almost put it on my list as well.
Oh yeah.
Even though I had no clue you were gonna put it on.
Yeah. True.
All right. The second one on the list I don't have a physical copy of yet, although I would really like to. It's actually an album which you will know very well as a hardcore Bob Dylan fan, as you are.
Okay.
It's not a Bob Dylan album, but it's from the band. Music from Big Pink, 1968.
Of course, great album. Yeah.
Their debut album as well. It's a bit of a mix. If you don't know the band, it's the mix of rock, folk, and country music, I would say. And they are primarily known not only for their good music, but because they were the backing band of Bob Dylan for several his tours in the 60s. That's right. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And throughout the 70s as well, I guess. Yeah.
No idea. I know a little bit of history, but not that much of the band. The album itself, it feels it's a unique feeling I don't really have on any other album. It's quite strange, but in a good way. It feels really pure. It almost feels like a live album to me. I can almost imagine sitting just in front of the band itself, performing on a small stage just for me, listening to the soft emotion in the music and the vocals. It's a very unique sound.
That's because I guess the album was recorded in the basement of their famous Pink House in Woodstock. It has that kind of intimate, atmosphere. That's right. Yeah, because it was actually recorded very tightly together. Yeah,
you can actually hear that. I didn't know that, but you can actually hear that in the recording. It's amazing how they put that on vinyl, on record. That day, it's really a great feat of engineering.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the production is pretty good. As you think of it, that it was recorded in a basement, pretty good production.
Yeah. Fun fact: the band, like I said, were the backing band of Bob Dylan, and I think he also wrote one song and co-wrote two other songs on this album. He actually wanted to sing as well, but he quickly realized that he just wanted to put the band in front and not pull the attention all away from them to him. Exactly.
That's a wise choice. Yeah.
It's a great album without him. Another thing he did was the cover artwork. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I know he's a very creative guy, but that his creative skills went beyond, writing music and composing music. I didn't know that at all. No. My second album in the list is a very different album than the first two ones that we presented to the audience. but a very classic 60s albums. It's from 63. It's Roy Orbison's In Dreams. I'm pretty much of a Roy Orbison fan. I like the kind of Nashville sound it has to it. It was recorded in the famous RCA Studio B in Nashville, where Elvis Presley also recorded during that time, where Elvis Presley also recorded his powerful ballads. And that's what the album represents as well. One of Roy's most, powerful love ballads, actually. It's nothing more than that. It never goes really deep, of course. It has that kind of, happy / also difficult love time of kind of atmosphere to it. Great love songs,
Okay.
Of course, the guy was a terrific singer. He has a voice no one ever had,
I find it weird that you mentioned, not weird, but curious that you mentioned it's an evening time chill record, and because when I think of Roy Orbison, I think of like a dancing rock and roll.
It's
music.
It's because of this album is purely ballad based. It's there's some more energetic tracks on it, but you shouldn't listen to it for those tracks. It's really a touching album. It's a pure touching love album, nothing more than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's your number 3, Nick?
My number 3 is one of the greatest live albums of all time, which says a lot.
No shit.
I think you already can guess what kind of album or what album it is.
I think so, yeah.
I'll just go ahead and show it because I have it on vinyl as well. It's Live at the Apollo by James Brown.
Oh, yeah, of course. Great one, yeah.
One of the best live albums of all time. I have yet to see a negative review for this album. I've never heard anyone say it's bad. It's a very short album. Just over 30 minutes, but it packs a big punch, even though it's only like a half an hour. It's really great. It was recorded in the Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York in 1962, and then released on vinyl in 1963. So it features James Brown, mega superstar, of course. He wasn't really that mega famous yet, not really all over the world, I would say. But this album really cemented that, because James Brown ultimately is most famous for his live performance, of course. And you can hear that on this album. It's a really energetic,
great relationship between the audience and performer. Yeah.
Just perfect. It's a really swinging album. Every time I listen to the recording, it's you can't stop listening. I can't. It makes me want to start dancing, and that says a lot because I'm not a dancer.
Yeah. I really want to see that. Yeah. Next time I'll see you, definitely put on this album. Yeah. I really want to see that.
Be careful what you wish for. No, but the backing band as well, the Famous Flames, they carried their absolute best live performance in just over 30 minutes. And listening to the recording, it's really hard, like you said, to ignore the enthusiasm of the crowd and not get swept up yourself by it. It has a lengthy but funny intro, which pulls you right into the moment. And the moment James Brown starts singing after the intro, you simply can't stop listening. You have to listen to it all at once. Like
you said, it's so swinging, and you really get those dancing vibes. And I have that as well. Yeah, it's a great album. Yeah.
And we all know you're a big dancer.
Great big. Me. Oh, yeah. All right.
What's your next one?
My next one is My next one is one that I think you aren't that big of a fan of this artist in this 60s era.
Oh God.
But this artist did a lot for me. He meant a lot for me. Also during my singing kind of career. I've covered a lot of songs by his.
I know.
We're talking about Elvis Presley's From Elvis in Memphis.
Now you make it seem like I'm not a big Elvis fan. You set me up.
I think you're more. If you would listen to Elvis Presley, you would listen to the early stuff, I guess. The early 1950s rock and roll stuff, the rockabilly kind of vibes. Elvis in the 1960s, he wasn't that big in the 1960s. He put out some good stuff, like, of course, this album. But most of the time, he went out recording, very, very bad musical movies that really didn't have a story on it, just like crappy songs. And other great bands, during that time really overwhelmed him and put him out of the charts, really. He was topped by a lot of other bands, like British invasion bands, the Beatles and the Stones and stuff like that. But in 1969, he actually had his great comeback. He did a Christmas special in 68, actually. And his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, wanted him to record, only Christmas songs for the TV show. But he decided to do his classics, his early rock and roll stuff on that TV special. And it had an enormous success. And it was recorded back in Memphis, of course, where he also lived, with a great backing band, with great background vocals, great background vocal group. It's actually, most of the songs are covers on this album, but if there's one person that's really good into transforming, originals to a cover that's really unique, it's no one else than Elvis Presley, and, this guy's voice, it touched me each time I hear it, great singer. One of the best singers in the world for me, yeah. Great album from Elvis in Memphis. I don't know if you want to check this one out, but if you have the chance,
I'll definitely give it a try. I haven't listened to it before. Like I said, like you said, I'm not that biggest Elvis fan, but I can definitely, I can always put him on. I can always put him on without a problem. So, all right. Nice,
what's your next album?
My next album is a whole different genre, and it's a genre we haven't touched on before. It's actually a jazz album. It's Duke Ellington and John Coltrane.
Yeah, classic one.
I would say this is my favorite jazz album of all time. Definitely along with Time Out by Dave Brubeck.
Okay, Time Out, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
It's one album of many collaborations between Duke Ellington and other artists in the 1960s. This one is with John Coltrane, but he also did albums with Louis Armstrong and Count Basie, as well as others. All classic masters of jazz, of course, and soul and different other genres. For this album, John Coltrane perfectly matches Ellington's piano work on this rather delightful album. That is perfect for any listening session if you're in the mood. You can clearly hear both styles throughout the album. You can hear John Coltrane's special saxophone sessions throughout the songs, but also Duke Ellington's soft but touching piano work. And the way they transform songs to seamlessly transition into one another is just amazing. It's if you would think about those two artists collaborating, you wouldn't hear them, you wouldn't picture it, because it would be such a different style, but they do it perfectly, and that's the first time I heard it was amazing.
Two jazz greats, actually, yeah.
It's so great.
My favorite. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, well, actually, my favorite Coltrane album from the 60s would be A Love Supreme. I actually love that. It's a whole different kind of style than he's doing on this album. But yeah, just to mention it, that's really my favorite. Yeah,
definitely.
But this album, I love this one as well. I've put it on a few times, but I should really dive deeper into it. Just like kind of lay back in the sofa with a drink and listen to it from beginning till end.
Take it all, and
yeah, you should do that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there are absolutely different songs as well throughout the album. There's not that many songs on it, I think like 6 or 7, but like some of the songs are just John Coltrane taking the lead, but others are Ellington taking the lead. And then they mix it up, and Like I said before, just seamless transition and just flawless execution. And that's what ultimately what jazz is all about. Just perfect seamless transition between musicians.
That's true.
And that's what makes it a must listen for any jazz fan.
My next one, okay, we're starting the second half of the list.
Yes.
Let's do it. And it's a pretty famous 60s album. It sounds very 60-ish, very poppy 60-ish / rock and rollish. It's from the mid 60s. It's one of the most famous pop bands from America back in the day. It's one of the most famous West Coast poppy bands.
I can guess this one. I can guess this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Beach Boys.
No. I could guess you would say Beach Boys, but no, we're talking about the Mamas and the Papas. If you can believe your eyes and ears from 1966.
Oh, you bastard! That was my next one on the list.
No, really?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's nice.
But go ahead. Go ahead. It's yours.
We can discuss some. Can mix our review about this album. Like I said, one of the best pop bands from the 60s. A very West Coast sound they add to it. Of course, they use the famous backing band, the Wrecking Crew, on this album. The group of musicians that really contributed on a lot of the 60s classics, also on Pet Sounds. So great album for me. A very sort of simple album. There's some very simple tunes on this, but they bring it so good, so... The harmonies, the vocal harmonies are very good on this album. It gives you this kind of happy mood, and you want to sing along. I sing this album along from beginning till end when I put it on. It's so great. Monday, what a classic.
Monday.
Hey. Great. Straight Shooter.
Yeah, great song.
I Call Your Name. A Beatles cover, a song that was written by John Lennon in the early 60s, and that they put out. They didn't put it out on an album, but on the Past Masters album you can listen to it. It's a Beatles cover written by John Lennon again, and it's sung by Mama Cass, the
best singer,
the wider
from the
woman,
band.
the wider woman, in the band. And she actually had an eye for John Lennon, and you can hear her whisper throughout the end of the song, like, John. You should really listen to it closely.
Oh my
but
God.
it's like a reference to John Lennon.
That
in
sounds
this song.
so creepy.
Yeah.
It's a great album.
Dreaming.
It's a great album.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no problem. California Dreaming, of course. Somebody Groovy. Great song. And of course, The In Crowd, also sung by Mama Cass. What are your thoughts on it? Have you got some interesting facts?
I think it's absolutely amazing, and the more I listen to it, the more I fall in love with the album. It's for the people who don't know, it's a more pop / folk rock kind of sound, I would say.
Yeah.
And I find it really interesting because the first time I heard about it, I saw it and I read the name of the band and the album. I thought it was a really tacky cover, a really tacky band name. I thought, what the hell is this? How am I gonna like this at all? But as soon as I put it on, it was not tacky music at all. It's an album filled with positive, heartfelt songs, kind of embraces hippie culture as well at the time.
Yeah.
But like you said, an absolute feel-good album, and it's perfect for any occasion to put it on. You can put it on night and day, and it wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, of course. One of the main acts on the famous Montgomery Pop Festival in San Francisco in '67 as well. This band. Great West Coast band,
Very short-lived but successful group with a dramatic ending, I would say.
Yeah, true.
Unfortunately, it's a great album.
This is where our tastes blend is blending together. Yeah.
Yep. I didn't even know you had it on vinyl.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, in a second-hand version. Yeah, I don't own a lot of second-hand LPs, but this is one of them. Yeah, I really wanted this one to be kind of original. Yeah.
Nice.
So as that was your next album as well. I'm going straight to my next album. Yeah,
go for it, man.
It's one that I don't own. Actually, I own it, but I actually own this album. Yeah, on CD. But I didn't bring it here because I am in another location now. It has a psychedelic feel to it, but it's brought out in a very unique kind of way. It has influences from like very different genres, like some jazz, some rock, some blues, some pop as well. It all blends together in a very unique, very specific kind of way. And there's only one man that can do this, and it's of course Frank Zappa. And it's the album Freak Out by Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention from '66. A great album. I guess you don't know it?
I don't know the album, but I know a little bit, not that much, of Frank Zappa, but I'm not really a big psychedelic kind of fan.
Well, maybe psychedelic is the wrong kind of term to use on this. I can't really put a specific genre onto this. It's so unique. I can't explain it. You should try it out. I can't even say one song that really got me. I see it like one big song, like one very long song. I don't see it as separate tracks. It's like one weird kind of adventure it takes you on.
Yeah.
You see very weird stuff on this adventure. Like rainbows and flying ponies and everything. Just all mixed up with each other. It's Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention.
All right. I'm not sure that it will be the first one I will check out, but we'll see. The next one is a very famous album, but it's one I personally really adore. It's an album I would recommend to anyone to listen. It's actually a Beatles album.
No.
Yeah, really. I went for it. It's actually my favorite album, even though Dylan doesn't understand it.
As you put it slowly into
You really still don't understand why this is my favorite album, but it is. But even then, I didn't put it on here because it's my favorite, maybe a little bit. But it's a unique album. It's an album everyone should listen to if you're a Beatles fan or not. It's really, if you don't know the Beatles, I won't go into it. You're hopeless. But it's their fifth studio album. It's also a soundtrack album for their movie called Help as well. It's not everyone's favorite Beatles record, but it is for me. Dylan has on multiple occasions said I was crazy for picking this one. Didn't you?
I've actually put it on the day before yesterday on vinyl as well. While I was cooking, actually. Very loudly as well. So
you have to listen full focus. No, just kidding.
No, I think it's a good album. Not every song on it is good, I think. It's not... For me, it's not a perfect album, but it's a good one. It's that sort of transition albums to another style, from Beatles for Sale to Rubber Soul. It's like the perfect album to do that transfer.
Absolutely. It's the last old school Beatles record that fully captures the early sound they developed and perfected from early days, from Please Please Me, Hard Day's Night, etc. And that kind of stops here, I would say, like you said. I agree with it's not a perfect record, absolutely, but it's it perfectly, it's my favorite record because it perfectly captures my feelings at the time when I first listened to it, when I first heard the record, and it still makes me feel a lot of emotions every time I listen to it. and that's why it's special to me.
Fair enough.
It's there. I don't really agree that there aren't any good songs on that not all the songs are perfect. There's not really one song I would say is less than the other. It's a great mix of songs. They don't really hold up together as an album concept, but individually they make for memorable songs, I think.
There's one song I actually hate on this album. Really, I don't know what it is.
Ticket to Ride.
Never really. No, man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I know people who hate that song.
No, that's a class. Damn, that's a great song. It's actually, it's Only Love. It's Only Love. I don't have any connection with that song. Yeah, not at all. I don't know why. It's.
I understand. I just don't agree.
Next album in the list, Nick, is by one of a very famous band from the 60s, a band from New York, I think. Recorded a lot of their stuff at Columbia Records. Some people say their vocal harmonies are sounding so tight as the Beatles' vocal harmonies do. That's doubtable. But we're talking about...
Who is this?
Bookends by Simon and Garfunkel.
Holy shit. I didn't expect Simon and Garfunkel after the sentence, the Beatles.
It is one of my favorite 60s bands. But actually my favorite album of theirs is one of the 1970s. It's actually Bridge Over Troubled Water. But if I have to choose... if I have to choose for one from the 1960s, it would be Bookends for sure. You haven't listened to this one?
No,
yet?
Not this one.
It is... It's a very atmospheric album. It's about, aging. It has some dark themes like aging, a relationship that's, two people that have been together for a very long time, but maybe too long, that they grow apart. They get bored with each other, stuff like that, just like very dark themes in life. There's some, more uplifting songs mixed with very intense acoustic songs on this one. But the most famous song on the record is, of course, Mrs. Robinson, which is not my favorite track on the album. I've listened to this track, too much. I got very bored of this track.
Yeah, that's a thing. You can have that.
Yeah. And then, other very great songs on this album is, America, the song America. Very beautiful song. Old Friends, about the aging. Two old people sharing a bench in a park. Stuff like that. Bookends, of course. Save the Life of My Child. And the beautiful, let's see where it is. A Hazy Shade of Winter. Great song. I really can't. I have a difficult time explaining the atmosphere on this album. It's one of those albums that chooses its atmosphere at the beginning and really sticks to that throughout the album till the end. It's always there, and you stay within that kind of feeling. It's done perfectly good. Yeah.
Okay.
Bookends.
That will be the first one I check out, I think. I really like Simon and Garfunkel. Haven't heard that much over an album or two, maybe, but I haven't heard this one, so I'll definitely check that out first. I think.
Big tip.
Okay, yeah. I like the description of the atmosphere as well. That's my thing. That's the thing I like. Okay. My next one I don't have physically, but it's an album I already spoiled to you. You know which one it is. It's Fresh Cream by Cream, British band. Their debut album from 1960. 1960.
Is that their debut album? I didn't know that at all.
Yeah. Debut.
Oh my god, yeah. Okay.
Do you know the
Yeah.
what year?
I have to guess. I would say 67.
You are
66.
Correct.
67? Yeah.
Yeah. For the people who don't know Cream, it's a British blues rock band, I would say. Bit of a jam rock as well. Some jamming songs on there as well. But mostly famous for their other albums, Disraeli Gears and what was the other one? What's the other one called?
Can't remember.
Yeah.
From their last one.
Wheels.
Yeah.
Something with wheels.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if
Wheels
it's
on
Wheels.
Fire.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Close.
Anyway.
Close.
It's my favorite album of Cream personally, even though I agree that the other ones are actually better in as a whole. It's just a gut feeling. It's a really nice atmosphere, a really nice vibe on this album from beginning to end. But immediately when playing the first track, you can hear Eric Clapton on the guitar. Not many people who know this, but Eric Clapton was in this band as well. You can instantly hear his very influential guitar work on here, and together with Ginger Baker's tight drumming, this makes for a really great album. That it's impossible not to jam along in your mind to most of the songs. So yeah. You don't know the album as a whole, or you have listened to it, or
I've listened to it, but
not that big a fan.
I'm not that big of a fan of that album, no. It's never really, it never really grabs me, Some of the tunes, they're good, it's a good band. Like you say, it's put tightly together, the instrumentation, it's a terrific band.
Yeah.
But, it got hugely overwhelmed and overshadowed by another album by Cream for me, and it's by Disraeli Gears, of course.
Nice.
From 1967. What a great album this is,
The albums came out back to back the same year.
It should be, yeah.
67. Unless I got it wrong. I'll check it out. Shit. Fresh Cream is from 66. My bad.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I've got this one in a very special edition. It's more, it adds some more red colors to this one than the original, and it's like it has some relief going on. It's like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go feel that in your vinyl closet the next time I come home.
Well, what do I have to say about this one? It's one of my favorite 60s records of all time. Strange Brew, the way it, kind of pops into this album. Very bluesy tracks, like a lot of the tracks on this album. Very simple sound, but very touching. Strange Brew, Sunshine of Your Love, 60s classic. Tales of Brave Ulysses. I don't know how to pronounce the title, but very, very great track. Outside Woman Blues, sung by Eric Clapton, and Take It Back. Great song as well. I agree. You already said all of the stuff about Cream, I think it's the second band Eric Clapton played guitar in, after the Yardbirds, I think.
I think so.
That it's actually kind of a shame that these guys all only put out 3 albums throughout their career.
Yeah.
It's they did like a sort of a reunion a couple of years ago, and I really wanted to be there. Yeah, this is the sound, the mixing on those albums, the reverb on those guitars. It sounds so great. The sound is very great.
All right. The next one I have in this list is one I have acquired very recently, actually this week on vinyl. It's another live album. and I only discovered. I only discovered it a month or two ago. It's one of another one in the list of greatest live albums of all time, I would say. And this time it's not soul or funk like James Brown, but it's a blues album, namely B.B. King live at the Regal Theatre.
I really want this album on vinyl. I've got it on CD, but it's not enough for me.
Not enough. I need more blues.
I need more.
It's an amazing sound for a live album from 1965. It's you can't these days live albums have a great sound automatically because all these engineers are behind it. But recording a live album in the 60s was technically very challenging, as I've come to understand. It's not that simple as just putting on some microphones and recording it on a computer as you would do nowadays. It's really a technical challenge. But the way they managed to do it here and make it sound so great, the vocals for B.B. King, his guitar, it's actually sublime, jaw-dropping. I think you would agree 100% with that statement.
In that definitely in that first song, Every Day I Have the Blues, you've got that build up, so you have the guy announcing the concert, one of the greatest blues singers of all. What is it, the world's greatest blues singer? Here's B.B. King, and then Every Day I Have the Blues starts, and it has that build up, and then the moment his guitar pops in, that sound, that sound it's a very unique sound. It grabs me all the time. It's terrific.
I would say this is a perfect album for just taking it in, laying back, taking it in. Maybe even a small apéro with your friend or girlfriend. Just
connection with the audience is also so. The audience actually reacts a lot on the stuff he's like singing and also saying between the songs. He does some storytelling as well on the tracks. It's fantastic. And then that medley of 3 songs in the beginning, the second, third, and fourth song are like blend together. It's perfectly done. Great album. It's my favorite blues album of all time.
Nice. Simply put, YouTube audience, if you don't like this album, we can't be friends with you. Sorry.
It's just that moment that, the audience was like warmed up with Every Day I Have the Blues, very energetic, kind of fast blues track. Yeah. And then, it's kind of, I don't know how to say it. The audience, of course, reacts to that song, and then he kicks in with that slow blues, like with that, like, and it's my hairs, they straighten immediately.
It hits right in the heart.
It's
absolutely.
Very good.
All right, next one.
Okay, my next one I actually don't own yet. Again, really want this to be in my collection. By one of those famous 60s bands from the second half again. One of those Woodstock bands again. It's, of course, a San Francisco band again as well. It's Jefferson Airplane.
Oh, okay.
And it's Volunteers. The album Volunteers. Which I actually don't like every song on that album. But I like it enough to actually ignore that and listen to the songs that I don't own that much. It's I love the album as a piece, not every song as a piece on itself, but as a one whole, thing. I love it. And definitely the track Volunteers itself, and if there's one track that really represents the Woodstock Festival for me from '69, it's that track. Because I've seen the performance on live footage of that of that festival, and it's like, it's Woodstock all the way. Jefferson Airplane got on at I think 4 o'clock in the morning, because the festival got delayed that much,
all the best bands in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So they were like very tired on the live footage, but the performance of that song was so so rough and so very good. So that's definitely my favorite track.
Is that the Pink album or is that another one?
It's Surrealistic Pillows is the Pink album.
Okay.
Volunteers has it's from later on, from 69 it is, because they played a lot of the songs from that album on the festival. I like it just because of the link with the Woodstock 69 festival. With Volunteers as my favorite track. And also the lyrics to that song are like representing the end of the 60s so much. It's like, hitting against the Vietnam War and, really, focusing on that freedom and like, doing your own thing and loving the people around you, the hippie stuff, of course. But it's not psychedelic at all. It's like it's a rock and roll album. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't heard that one at all. I've heard the other one, like the pink one, like I said, which I don't really know. I don't even know the name of it.
Surrealistic Pillow.
Okay, I'll never remember it. But no, I have heard yours, so I'll check it out. I have the same sentiment though about Surrealistic Pillows. I don't like every track on it, but as a whole, it's a special album. All right, my second to last one and my last one I don't have on vinyl yet. I would really like to. They're actually both women, solo women on the list. The first one is Dusty in Memphis by Dusty Springfield from 1969. Her fifth studio album.
I really wanted to put this one on the list as well, but I didn't. So let's go ahead.
Nice. Means we'll get a lot of talking. Her fifth studio album, she wanted to go back to her success from her first albums. It's kind of a comeback album, half. A lot of pop and soul on it. It actually was received poorly when it was released, but was later then regarded as actually her best work, which is crazy to even fathom, but okay, that's how it was. I really like her angel-like voice on this record. It's actually a bliss to hear. She penetrates your soul combined
beautiful,
with the great musicians behind it as well, famous musicians.
It is, for a fun fact, it is the same band that was used on the From Elvis in Memphis album. It was recorded at the same studio back in Memphis,
And also in 1969.
Yeah, it has that same band and that same vibes on it, on that Elvis album,
Oh, that makes me want to check it out more, the Memphis one.
Voila.
All right. Every time I listen to it, the hair on my neck stands up when listening. If you don't have that as well, then I'm sorry, music is not for you.
Son of a preacher man, right?
Son of a preacher man. Although it's not my favorite song, not even close. No, I like it, but that's about it. My one of my favorite songs is, and it's also on the Spotify list, is actually "Breakfast in Bed."
I don't know that one so good.
It's really tender song. You
definitely want to check this one out then.
You can really imagine it when you hear the lyrics. But definitely listen to that song.
Okay, all right, nice. Dusty in Memphis, of course, My next album is another psychedelic album, but you can't actually call it. It's not. Shortly said, it's not very psychedelic in the most purest form. It has that long sort of 1960s long pieces on it, 7 to 8 minutes long pieces, instrumental pieces combined with some very bluesy stuff actually. And I'm talking about Electric Music for the Mind and Body by Country Joe and the Fish. Another Woodstock band actually that performed on the festival in '69. Not very much stuff to say about that one. If you're interested in that one, you should check it out. They're very dear friends of Jefferson Airplane and a lot of the bands in San Francisco back in the day as well. Grateful Dead. Perfect blend of blues and rock and roll and psychedelic together. Had their biggest influence, of course, from records like Sgt. Pepper's from the Beatles and Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Great album. Favorite track is difficult to talk about because I like it as a piece, and there's not really a song I can remember now. I really remember it just exclusively as a piece. Electric music for the mind and body.
It's weird to hear like an album that has genres like blues on it, but also psychedelic. I can't imagine it. I have to listen.
I really would like your opinion on that one.
Okay, it's gonna be on my list, but I can't guarantee it's on top.
The last, yeah.
My last album on this list, but definitely not the least, is also a women artist, like I said. It's actually Nina Simone.
All right.
What was your guess?
I have a woman on my last album as well, and I was actually thinking it could be the same woman, but it's not. Okay, so okay. Go ahead.
All right. I actually put a lot of thought into this, and I still am doubting about which one I would have picked. They're actually from both of the same year. I ultimately chose "I Put a Spell on You" from 1965, but I almost chose "Pastel Blues." Okay. That's another one of my favorite albums of her, also from 1965. But what I'm gonna say here applies to both albums at the same time. You can't really go wrong with listening to Nina Simone, I would say.
No.
She's an absolute icon of jazz and soul. She's one of my favorite singers of all time, male and female. And on this album, she shows her strongest side throughout her entire career, I would say.
That voice is just,
It's
so
out of this world.
Really
It's so unique. It's not even comparable.
Definitely.
Don't miss out on this album and the rest of her discography, I would say, to the YouTube audience. And if you can, check out the documentary on Netflix, What Happened to Miss Simone.
Great one. Yeah.
I learned a lot about her, and it adds so much context to her
very
lyrics.
Bizarre. Very bizarre
yeah.
figure she was. You can't really. Very mysterious in some way.
You can see how the music industry and the racism in the 60s, and also the her husband, her abusing her, has all took such a toll on her life and on her music. Yeah. You can really hear that in the lyrics, the pain sometimes she endures. So with that in mind, I would say if you're gonna listen to one song, I would say make it. If it's the first song you're ever gonna hear about it, I would say listen to "Feeling Good." Can't go wrong with that one. Okay. But my favorite track on the album is a cover by Jacques Brel, "Ne me quitte pas."
I've heard the album actually twice or 3 times. Couldn't say what I think about it now. I should listen to it again. Yeah, definitely.
Not 1 week song. Not 1 week song on that entire album. I would say Pastel Blues. No, actually, I Put a Spell on You is the opener.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Also a very good track, but also a cover.
Okay. Remember that one, yeah. My woman is, and I still don't own this record. I really want this record already for so many years. It's not hard to find, but still, I don't know. I don't own it yet, and I should, order it when the time is right for it. And it's actually Cheap Thrills by Big Brother and the Holding Company, of course, with their lead vocalist, Janice Joplin.
Oh, okay. I didn't know she was in a band.
Yeah, and it's a Great album. Janice Joplin is my favorite female singer of all time. You know, her voice got a lot of emotion as well. You know, in some other way than Nina Simone's voice does. But still, it holds a lot of emotion. You know, because she actually also wasn't that happy. You know, throughout her career. Cheap Thrills, yeah. Big Brother and the Holding Company, terrific tracks on this. Summertime is on that. A terrific cover of Ball and Chain, a very long blues track. And of course, yeah, the terrific classic Piece of My Heart. That's just a signature Janis Joplin song. And
Yes.
after Cheap Thrills, she did like her other albums weren't with the Big Brother and the Holding Company. She used other bands on that, and it really, it doesn't sound the same. Her best fit was with that band. She should have stayed on in this band, but she didn't because the band had a lot of troubles with drug use. They used all the time actually, and she actually left the band because it became too, unpredictable, all of that stuff, but didn't stop using drugs. And actually that became her end, even though she left the band, she kept on using a lot of drugs, sadly enough.
Great talent.
You haven't heard this album yet? You should. Yeah.
No. I know Piece
Actually,
of My Heart, but that's about it.
Maybe this one should be one of the first you listen to.
Okay.
Already the first track is it's amazing. It's an amazing album,
Okay.
Just
I love
because of
Janis
voice.
Joplin though. I love. I will definitely do that.
Brought out in
Nice.
'68. Great blues singer, of course. There's one blues song on that as well. That's just, she's like, it's her home. The blues is her home, Best vocal, female blues vocalist of all time.
Yeah. I first thought you were gonna pick Pearl as an album, but then I saw that it's from '71, so I didn't even know it.
It's not.
I thought it was the
It's actually
'60s.
It's actually my least favorite Janis Joplin album.
Oh, really?
I've got them all. Cosmic Blues Mama or something like that. I like that one better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was my list of 10 60s tips. I hope you enjoyed it, Nick, and also the audience. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I hope we did a good job on this. We brought up some very good work. Also, we can now enjoy each other's work throughout next week. And I will, come back to you for some reviews, Nick.
Nice, thanks for having me. It's been really great. I really like doing this, even though we had some technical difficulties, but that makes it more fun.
Sure enough. Yeah, we will do some of these episodes in the near future again, now and then. I really liked it as well, and I really hope you keep on enjoying your music, Nick, and you have a great Sunday evening. Or what's left of it.
Thank you, you too. Yeah. And I definitely will enjoy the music. I have almost, not 10 new albums, but close to it to listen to and check out. Thanks for that.
All right. I'm glad it added some value for you.
Definitely.
All right, Nick, have a great evening. Goodbye. And for you guys, I see you back next week for another solo episode, of course, as I can't do a duo session each week. I hope I'm interesting myself to look at in an episode. So see you guys and have a great weekend again. Goodbye.